I believe the number one reason why people do not start a business is because they feel like it's too complicated. And of course, there's also this idea of fear of the unknown, fear of taking a risk. But the main issue, I believe, is that if someone has never started a business before, they don't know where to get started, they don't know how to start a business, they don't know what to do. So obviously, the first thing we need to deal with is that you have an idea for a business. You have a product or a service that you want to offer out in the world, out in the marketplace, right? But the number one thing after your idea is to figure out how you're going to get it out to the market. Now, a lot of times you'll see people say, oh, you can write a business plan in 5 minutes and be done with it. And that's true if you know what you're doing, because I've written business plans on a napkin over dinner, okay? But I'm assuming that you're new to entrepreneurship, you're new to business, and you just want a simple method to take an idea you have to market. So the very first thing we do after we have this idea is we want to write a one-page business plan. We're not going to get into the complexities of a business plan and all the depths of it, okay? We're not going to get into these weird, crazy business school concepts and buzzwords. I just want to give you a simple one-page plan, which, by the way, you can download for free. Look for the link with this video, and it's going to be a PDF that you can download and write on. So print out as many times as you want, write on as much as you want. So let's deal with the problem. What is the problem that your product or service is going to solve in the marketplace? What challenges and pain points will it solve for the customer? Customer has a challenge or a problem or a pain point, and you have the solution. What is that problem? Next, which I mentioned, the solution. What will your business provide to solve that problem? Now, this is actually where you're introducing your product or your service. What is it that you're providing to the customer? This is your solution. Now, the next thing on your one-page plan is to talk about your customer. Who's going to buy the product or service? Now, the buzzword is the ideal customer, the customer avatar. If you take any of my other video courses, you will see that I talk in depth about how to develop this customer idea, this ideal customer or customer avatar. But here, you're just going to simply write down who's going to buy the product or service. Now, you need to do a little bit of thought in this. Is it moms or dads? Is it college students? Is it 5-year-olds? There's an age group, there's a gender group, maybe it's non-gender specific, maybe there's a certain socioeconomic level that you need to be at to purchase this product. Obviously, you're not going to try to sell a Maserati to someone who can only afford a Mazda, right? And so you need to understand who your customer is. So I want you to think in the most simplistic terms, who is it that's going to buy your product or service? It could be working moms. It could be single again. It could be empty nesters. So whoever that is, and you can start playing with the idea and be more specific as you move along. Age groups, socioeconomics, geography, those type of things. If you want more information on how to develop your customer avatar, your ideal customer, you can check out some of my other training videos. Now, you have the problem, the solution, and the customer. Let's talk about the competitive advantage. Who's the competition? What will your business do better than the competition? Now, you need to be thoughtful here, and this may require you to look at what the competition's doing and to highlight any gaps in the market or maybe what you're doing different or better. And it can't just be about a better price, because price alone is not always enough to move someone to be an adopter of your product or service over a long period of time. They might choose the cheaper solution because it's what is available at that moment. But what you're looking for is loyal, returning customers that are going to buy from you over and over again, especially if you're selling a product that you need to buy back on a regular basis. We won't get into those ideas at this moment, but just think about that. So what is it that your product or service does better than your competition? If you don't think you have competition, you're going to be in trouble. So you need to make sure that you understand who the competition is out there. And oh, by the way, maybe your competition isn't as obvious as you think it might be. So look at products or services that are similar or could be used in place of what you're offering. In other words, a substitute. Okay, so now you have your problem, your solution, your customer, and the competition dealt with. Let's talk about more specific to your business. You need to think about your marketing activities. Yes, that scary word, marketing. How are your customers going to learn about your business? And you need to be thoughtful about this. It could be flyers, it could be Facebook ads, you could do something on the Facebook Marketplace, maybe you're using Craigslist, maybe you're going to be more sophisticated and you're doing advertising on the radio, on the television, and remember, all these things have some cost involved with them. And if you're bootstrapping, meaning you're starting with little to no money, you're going to need to find solutions that are free or nearly free. And a lot of times you do that through organic growth, through social media and so forth. And by the way, if I want to just mention one thing about the customer for a moment, a lot of times people are getting started in business. Their obvious choice is to go to friends and family. Your ideal customer may not be your mom or your aunt, okay? Keep that in mind. So how are your customers going to learn about this? And don't expect that your friends and family are going to be all excited for you and they're going to just help you with word of mouth. Although word of mouth is golden, especially if it's positive word of mouth. So think about how your customers are going to learn about your product or service. Then let's talk about the sales channel. What that is a fancy word for how will your customers buy your product or service. Do you have a website? Do you have a store? Do you have a little cart that you roll around in the park or out in the plaza, while people are, off for lunch or whatever? How are they going to buy your product or service? Just think about that. And just remember, when you start building a website and you have, you're accepting credit cards or whatever, there are costs involved with that. There may be a cost involved with building a website. There's certainly going to be a transaction cost involved when you accept a credit card. And I'm not going to go into depth on any of the tools that you use there, but certainly there are tools that you can get started with, like PayPal and Venmo and stuff like that. Okay, just keep that in mind. But how will your customers buy your product or service? And in that same regard, the sales channel, how are they going to get the product? In other words, if they're doing it virtually, in other words, they're going to your web store, how are you going to ship it? And is it free shipping? Are you charging them for the shipping? Just keep all that in mind. And by the way, that all ties back to what is the competition doing? If the competition is charging a fee to ship something, you need to look at what the advantages are and disadvantages of giving free shipping and so forth. All these things you need to think about. Now, the final part that you want to look at is the money. How much money do you need to get started to operate your business? Now, when I say get started to operate, that's almost two things. How much money do you need to get started? If you're bootstrapping, you're going to start with as little money as possible. The very first business I ever started, and I talk about this over and over again in my videos, I spent under $100 to get started. And so how much money do you need to get started? And then how much money do you need to sustain operation each month? How much will your business make each month? Now, keep in mind, these are all estimates, all projections. You don't know yet. And then how much money do you think you need to spend every month? So you need to be thoughtful about these things. It's really important that you keep in mind and have some sort of rough little budget of the money. Now here in this one-page deal, you're going to just sketch it out, maybe even bullet points. So in closing of this one-pager, the one thing that I would mention to you while you're working on this, there's nothing that says that you cannot go ahead and take your product to market. Test it out on Facebook, test it out in social media, test it out on the street corner, wherever it is that you're allowed to go and sell it. There's nothing wrong with getting started before you have all of this worked out. Most of the time, people don't start businesses because they're afraid. I tell you, get your idea and test it immediately. Start figuring these things out. When I started my first business, and understand, I had a business degree. When I started my first business, I still had a lot of things to learn. And sometimes business is not about what you know, but what you learn as you're selling your product or service. Okay, why don't you go ahead and stop this video and pull out the one-page business plan, the link that I've provided with this video, and go ahead and start writing your plan today. If you need to, come back, watch this video again. I would love to help you with a little deeper walk with this. You can go over and check us out on my website, MaximumChange.com. See you soon.